All right, so welcome to Middleware Friday. This is episode 103 for June 6th. And today we're here with
Kevin Lam. How you doing?
And so Kevin, what is your role within Microsoft?
I am a program manager on Azure Logic Apps.
Cool. And everyone knows Steef-Jan, the other co-host of Middleware Friday.
Yes.
So last year at the Integrate event in London, we had the chance to sit down with Kevin, and he shared his insights at that time about Logic Apps and the state of integration platform as a service. And that was a very well received episode, so we figured we'd take the opportunity to catch him again and talk a little bit about Logic Apps and the state of integration at Microsoft. So you had a bunch of announcements in your session earlier this week. You want to share some of those insights with us?
I had so many announcements I will probably forget about half of them. But some of them that we've announced today at Integrate have been things like inline code. Inline code has been out for a little while, but we keep on adding new capabilities to that. VS Code project experience, so now you can manage your Logic Apps as a project in VS Code and have a first-class experience in DevOps. We released RosettaNet. SAP GA came out not that long ago at Sapphire.
That's right.
What else? We have a bunch of new security features coming out around obfuscation, which is the hiding of secrets from showing it to you in monitoring view. We released recently static results so that you can test your Logic Apps and do alternate outputs or not call backend systems. We have 60 connectors in the last 6 months.
60?
No, 38 connectors in the last 6 months.
Wow.
So that's a few every week. Let's see what else. There's a
One
lot
of those
more.
connectors is Key Vault one, right?
Key Vault was one of the connectors in that list, and that was a highly popular one. But the feature everybody's waiting for is that obfuscation feature, so that when you get your secret from Key Vault, you can hide it from monitoring view. And that'll be coming out really, really soon. Once our dev comes back vacation, then you can go actually ship it.
And we've covered a few of those topics previously on Middleware Friday, so go ahead and check that out. So more specifically, static results and inline code are some recent announcements that we've covered on the show.
Like and subscribe us on YouTube.
Like and subscribe on YouTube. In addition, I guess, so blockchain was another connector that you folks have announced.
Yeah, so Ethereum was a connector that our Azure blockchain team, which recently kind of came out at Build, having an Azure blockchain service, is doing, and we're doing some work with them in the next semester about having much more of a first-class experience and kind of modernizing what your B2B story could look like in the future, moving from the 20, 30-year-old models of doing EDI and Edifact and X12 and AS2, and now going with your consortiums and talking blockchain.
Yeah, that is super interesting because I think that is obviously the future of B2B. We'll see exactly where that lands, but it is nice to see an integration platform being on the forefront of that instead of playing catch up and trying to support that. So I think that's pretty interesting. And that's another shameless plug, is we did cover that a couple weeks ago, subscribing to blockchain events using Logic Apps. And then in a future episode, we're going to talk about publishing events to the blockchain through Logic Apps as well. So we're keeping up to date. We're in lockstep with you guys.
Yeah, the blockchain guys love us. One of the things that they use is Logic Apps as a means to actually do their integration for all the other services. Blockchain is not actually very interesting unless you integrate with something, right? You got to send a message, or you got to call the service and the ledgers and all that, and that's all done with blockchain.
Cool. So another thing I wanted to bring up was ICE. So we've worked with you on ICE for our own deployment. And recently, you folks have increased your limits around ICE.
Yes.
So do you want to talk a little bit about that and sort of what is the benefit for customers from that perspective?
So for those that don't know what ICE is, it's the Integration Service Environment, and that gives you a private dedicated stamp for you to run your Logic Apps in that allows you to connect directly into your VNets. So we do injection into your VNet, so you no longer need gateways, and you have direct line of sight to the systems you need to talk to. It also gives you that private environment, so you get no noisy neighbors, and you get to party as much as you want on that environment. So then we've given you extensions for things like request timeout limits. So if you double that from 2 minutes to 4 minutes,
right.
You can do larger messages. So today it's 100 meg in the shared cloud, and in an ICE it's 200 meg and a 5 gig limit for chunking.
Yeah.
What else did we do?
And then
we for connectors, Their throttle limits in the cloud is based on connections, and in the ICE, it's based on the connector. So we've quadrupled a lot of those, and then you can go party on those connectors. You don't have to create multiple connections to go manage those, because that's your environment. So you get to go party as much as you want on that thing, and you won't bother anybody because it's all your stuff. You can only shoot yourself in the foot, nobody else.
And then I believe you talked about some sort of connector or connection management feature coming as well, related to ICE as well. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
So one of the things that we're going to deliver really soon is a connector manager in ICE, and that will allow you to go ahead and list all the ICE connectors, and you can delete the ICE connectors, meaning that you can remove them from your environment, because connectors you're not using are actually still taking up memory or CPU or whatever. Also, as you might just have compliance, I don't want those connectors running on my machine. It also allows for scenarios for being able to upload packages. For example, SAP has licenses, and so you need to get your licensed package uploaded into the ICE. So now we have a capability to go ahead and do that. And so you get some stats about your connectors and how they're doing, and so we'll give you a nice connector manager experience in the ICE.
So that is interesting. If people haven't had a chance to deploy an ICE, something that you'll notice right off the bat is that when you actually provision it and actually go into the Azure portal, you're going to see some different performance counters, and you're going to see things around like your connectors, and sort of you can set thresholds in terms of like, do I want to scale out based upon pressures that might exist from either the runtime or connectors. So naturally you do have some resources that are just running, because it's readily available for you to consume. But if you're truly not going to use some of those connectors, that sounds like an interesting way of reducing some of that load on your ICE and actually being able to use it in other places. So that's pretty cool. So developer tooling is a pretty big focus for a lot of Logic App devs. So I guess you want to touch on some of the recent investments that have been made in that area.
Yeah, there's a couple things we did. One is Visual Studio 2019. So we have the Cloud Explorer and the Resource Management project, where we leverage that to do deployments of Logic Apps. And so that's out in VS 2019. The thing that's coming out really soon is VS 2019 support for being able to deploy a Logic App to an ICE. So that's kind of next on the docket for that one. And then the big one is VS Code. So we had released an open source project for VS Code, where you can go ahead and download from the cloud and look at your Logic App and then manipulate it via JSON and have a read-only designer view. But now we have a VS Code project, so you have a Logic Apps project, and so where each JSON file is a Logic App, and you get to go ahead and have a first-class experience in DevOps and deploy all that through VS Code, and it's open source, so you can go ahead and enrich that experience and make it better for everybody else too.
And you also have that download button now available inside the Logic App, isn't that right?
Not yet.
Not yet, but that's the plan, right?
That's the next up and coming one, where we've had the ability to download a Logic App where we parameterize all the Logic Apps and the connections that you use within that Logic App from Visual Studio. But that was pretty hard to discover for a lot of folks. So we're putting that same button in the portal, so then you can easily find it and then move into your Visual Studio experience. Just put into source control, or you just wanted to start working on your ARM templates. You get to do it right from the portal.
Okay, so you're improving that experience. That's good.
Yeah,
that's what we hear. So that's good.
So I guess what was, from your personal perspective, what was some of the interesting things that you found while attending Integrate here in London?
Well, it was this was a really great attendance this year. I think we had 500 people. It was a full. It was a packed conference, and there was a lot of new folks that were coming to the conference that hadn't been here before. Cool. At least 50%. Remember, Saravana raised his hand.
Around 50 or a little bit more.
And that's
a lot of people raising their hands.
And that's a great sign, saying that a lot of people are interested in the space, and integration is really important. John Fancy did a really nice keynote with 3 guest speakers from H&M, Shell, and HETB, showing how they're relying on the integration platform to run their businesses, and I think it was a great highlight to see how enterprise customers are using the platform instead of us kind of telling you, hey, please use our platform.
Well, no, and it solidifies the fact that you are one of the leaders in that quadrant of Gartner, and there's customers and large customers standing out and explaining that and showing them their architectures, including Logic Apps and stuff. So that's was really useful, I think, also for the audience, the new ones, that hey, this is real, and those are real customers telling real stories.
Yeah.
So that was good.
So there's another version of this conference coming up in the U.S. in
Yes,
your backyard in
another
Redmond.
2 weeks.
So what's your pitch for the folks that may have some, last minute aspirations of coming to this conference? What's your pitch to those folks that might be sitting on the fence right now? What can they come learn about? What can they come experience?
Well, a big thing is not only that you get to learn about the product and we had some great sessions about the enterprise capabilities and hacking logic apps and other things, but you get to talk to the product team. And it's not only us. This time you'll be in Redmond, so you'll have the engineers and the other guys there from the whole AIS crew. So having that first-hand access to us to ask questions, I think is really valuable.
Cool. I think so. Yeah, we'll be there too.
We'll be there too.
I can't get rid of you guys. You're always there.
All right. Well, thanks for joining us again.
Yeah, thank you, Kevin.
The second
always
time.
My pleasure.
It's been a pleasure to hang out with you this week and sort of get some insights to see where things are going. And we'll see you in a few weeks in Redmond.
All right.
All right.
See you on the other side of the pond.
Yeah. All right. Thanks.
Bye.